So these are the weeks that we're learning about the plagues, the Parshas of the plagues. We understand that the Egyptian experience gave the Jewish people solid emunah that sticks with us forever. We understand that watching Hashem manipulate nature, break every one of the rules of nature, made it very, very clear that He's the creator, sustainer, that everything is in His hands, that there is divine providence. When Hashem introduces Himself at Ma'amad Har Sinai, the Aseret HaDibros, the Ten Commandments, He addresses Himself. What does He call Himself? Who took you out of Egypt? The Ramban writes, He didn't say, I was Hashem who created heaven and earth, because none of us was there at the time of creation. Whereas the whole nation experienced everything involved in getting us out of Egypt. And says the Ramban, how do we know that Hashem created heaven and earth? Because of what happened in Egypt. So for example, on Shabbos, in our davening, we say, Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Yitzias Mitzrayim, Shabbos. Shabbos is about creation. Pesach is Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Sukkot is Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Pesach, Shabbos. What does Shabbos have to do with Yitzias Mitzrayim? It was Yitzias Mitzrayim that taught us that Hashem is the creator. And it was Yitzias Mitzrayim that then brought Klal Yisrael to the point that when Hashem gives Moshe the Torah that begins with Bereshis Bara, they knew it was true. It was that whole experience. And by the way, Ma'amad Har Sinai in itself is part of Yitzias Mitzrayim. It's all the miracles, beginning with the plagues, going through Ma'amad Har Sinai, where we experience divine revelation on a national level, and then the 40 years in the desert, and the conquest of Eretz Yisrael, all of that is part of Yitzias Mitzrayim. The Ramban says this openly. In other words, this entire experience was there to leave an imprint on every Jewish personality. It's in our genes. In the subconscious of every Jew is the fact that our ancestors were there and they saw Hashem playing around with nature. And they also experienced Ma'amad Har Sinai. That's so simple. Until you open the Chumash. And the Pasuk seems to say otherwise. One after another. V'yod'u Mitzrayim. The Egyptians will know. According to the Pasuk, the purpose of the plagues was to teach the Egyptians. And although temporarily here and there they were effective, it didn't really last that long. Even after Makas Bechoros, even after that, where they let the Jews go, they still came running after them. I mean, they only really knew for good when they drowned at Kriyas Yams. Why is the pasuk stressing time and again, V'yad'u Mitzrayim? The goal is for the Egyptians to see. The goal became convincing the Egyptians. Yeah, you could say, because that's the only way we can get out of there. Come on, we're talking about miracles. And the pasuk makes it very clear, Hashem hardens Paro's heart so that there will be more of them. Why is it so crucial the Egyptians see it? Why shouldn't it all be for the Jews to see? Towards the very end, that's not even this week's parsha, next week's parsha. So Hashem says yes, and then you'll be able to tell your children and their children of everything I did to the Egyptians. It seems that we, Jews, we're not just watching miracles. We were watching Hashem teach the Egyptians. We were watching Hashem teach the Egyptians. Why is that the approach? In Parshas Yisro, and it's all part of this progression. So Yisro converts, he comes, and what does he say? Now I know that Hashem is greater than the idols. Why is that? Ki badavara shezadu aleihem mida keneged mida. The Egyptians tried to drown the Jewish kids, and the Egyptians drown in the sea. Now I know. That's what got him. Until that point, it wasn't impressive enough. All the plagues, they didn't do the trick. What convinced him? Had it not been for the fact that the Egyptians were drowned and their original plot involved drowning the kids, it wouldn't have impressed him. The splitting of the sea on its own, the fact that the Jews walked through it miraculously, and then the waters turned on the Egyptians, no, that's not enough for him. That wasn't spectacular enough. It's the fact that Hashem got back at them with what they did. The midah keneged midah. That's what impressed him. So we've got to understand what emunah is all about is not the fact that we are convinced by the spectacular. The spectacular is not what it's about. Yisro, the truth seeker, what got him? Justice. What got him was justice. It's not that this is spectacular, that this is super duper. Wow, no one else can do this. It was the fact that there's a manner to this divine providence. It's that the Egyptians who tried drowning the kids drown. It's that the Hashem of the Jews, it's not just that he does spectacular stuff, but he's just. He's just, he's true. Remember, Egypt, that was the home of black magic. all the different forms of it. That whole schools of this. The Khartoumim. There was a whole class of people. They studied it, well versed in it. They knew how to do the spectacular. Okay, so we outdid them. We were more spectacular than they were. That's not what Emunah is all about. That's not what Emunah is all about. In fact, the Rambam writes, question is reading it accurately, but what the Rambam writes is, when it comes to Torah's Moshe, when it comes to what we were makabel from Moshe Rabbeinu, the reason we believe in it is not because he performed miracles. The reason we know it's true is because we were there when it happened. Because it was a national revelation and not just revealed to Moshe. And we heard him being invited up there. Rambam doesn't write that explicitly, that's the way it's understood. The spectacular gets your attention. But that's not what it's about. A truth seeker is looking for truth. Hashem says that the purpose of these plagues is to teach the oppressors to the point that they will come to the realization. And yes, they did in and out of it. They did. Remember, after the lice, after Kinim, they said, Etz Pelakim. We don't have the formula for dealing with things that are that small. There's nothing substantially physical in lice. They're too tiny for their science to be able to deal with it. Oh, this is bigger than us. That's for the Egyptians. They were into the spectacular. The plagues were there to convince the Egyptians. The plagues were there so that the Egyptians would recognize, and that Paro said it, we are the wicked ones. Hashem is the tzaddik and we are the Rishoyim. For us to observe Hashem doing everything for the sake of educating the Egyptians, that teaches us something about who Hashem is. Why does Hashem make disaster happen? To educate. That's what the Jew is supposed to find in his Judaism. Not the spectacular. Not the spectacular. There are lots of spectacular things that were done over the generations by all sorts of people in different ways. Honestly, the world out there today is so exciting and so spectacular. I mean, there's endless opportunity with technology. Everything's spectacular. How does that compete with sitting over your Gemara? You know, someone's going to develop the Come Alive Gemara. Everything's going to be acted out in front of you. Don't miss the point. It's not about the spectacular. It's about truth. There's something within every human being that appreciates what's true. Certainly a truth seeker. What impressed Yisro was just that. And what we were supposed to learn from it is not just that Hashem performed miracles. One of the Rambam's 13 principles of Emunah, his Yesodis of Emunah, is belief that Mashiach is going to come, and the confidence that even though he's taking his time, he's going to come. And even a desire for his coming, an anxious awaiting of his coming. And the question is, what's the source to that particular mitzvah? What mitzvah tells us? What mitzvah tells us? To believe in Mashiach's coming, to desire his coming. The Smach, the Sefer Mitzvahs HaKotzer, one of the Balei HaTosfos, he says it's the mitzvah of Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher Tzisicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. What we were supposed to learn from the Egyptian experience was the fact that there was a plan there. The fact that Hashem brought justice to the Egyptians and took us out of Egypt. That means that there's a plan. And to any thinking person, if there's a plan, the current state of the world is not acceptable. Is this the plan? Is this what Hashem created the world for? He created the world for evil and waste, emptiness. What did he create the world for? He created the world for the day that the world will be filled with wisdom, filled with divine wisdom, with the thirst for it and the availability of it. Anyone who appreciates Asher Tzisicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that there's a real plan and real purpose, and it's not just this big powerful Hashem who has to show off here and there to let you know he's around, but there's a real manner to it. Everything he's doing is educational. Everything he's doing is leading to something. Then you can't wait for the ultimate goal to be achieved. The interim stages are too painful to accept. Hence, the confidence and the desire, a craving for the world to attain its perfection. The Egyptian experience is engraved in the subconscious, the memories, the collective memory of Klal Yisrael. And above all, it's not just the spectacular. It's the truth. What makes us different is not because we have bigger and better miracles. That's not what the competition is about. What it's about is we understand that Hashem has a plan. And everything he does is educational and moving in that direction. And that while there's so much challenge and so much suffering and catastrophe, we understand that there's a manner to it. That's what our emunah is about. So far more powerful than the plagues themselves is the understanding that the plagues were there to teach the oppressors a lesson, to turn them into ma'aminim, to say that it's Etzbe Elokim, to say that it's Hashem's hands that are doing it, to say that he's the tzaddik and we were wicked. That's what it's about. And our observing that, that's where we get our emunah from. It's not about the spectacular. It's about emes. It's about real meaning, truth, and arriving at a real place, which ultimately means a perfect world, filled with an awareness of Hashem and an appreciation of his wisdom. May it happen soon. We've got to do our share too.